Hey, One Club. This is Cheryl D. Holmes Miller, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to zoom in and be with you through this great event and time of celebration. I want to come to you with just some encouragement to kind of lean into this season and opportunity. It is our time, it is your time, and I'm just one big history note in the story of design and advertising, and definitely back at the beginning. Um, Recently, I ran into a beautiful article that you can find by Jim Glover. He published on June 29, 2020. How did Blacks get into advertising anyway? Um, I would encourage you to go look for that, to Google for it. And he opens up right where I started on the path. And that is just like now, after Martin Luther King's assassination on April 4th, 1968, this country erupted in demonstrations, lootings, and burnings. And like today, there was much hand wringing and criticism of demonstrations, looters, and burners. But if it weren't for that violent outburst, some things would have never changed. In fact, it was from the riots directly in New York City that sent the NAACP leader, Roy Wilkins, to meet the representatives from leading New York City ad agencies and the American Association of Advertising Agencies and presented a keynote address to an AAAA meeting in New York. These raised concerns about New York employment and advertising agencies, along with the issues of negative images of Blacks in ads and the media and the absence of Black models and actors from ads in general market media. After a few years before that momentous meeting, the Urban League of Greater New York released a study to 10 large New York advertising agencies, etc., etc. There has been a price that's paid for us to be recognized and to be celebrated and to prosper as Black creatives. In my own journey, where this article opens up in Martin Luther King's assassination, 1968, I stepped on the path of this journey. And I celebrate, believe it or not, 50 years. I am not new to this. I am true to this. I have been around this rodeo since the civil rights era. Oh my God. And I want to tell you exactly where we are. And I want to encourage you based on history and what I know about this journey. We are in a season of reparation. And I wouldn't be here today if it had not been for the unrest and speaking to power and the demand for change that experienced 50 years ago, where I stepped on the path. Oh my God, I started college touring the day Martin Luther King was assassinated. I'm from Washington, D.C. My father is a Howard guy, an Alpha guy. He had a big, long Cadillac, a green one at that, with not a diamond in the back, but definitely a sunroof top. And Washington was burning. Oh my God. And I said, Papa, are we still going to New England? Are we still going? And he said, honey, get in the back of the Cadillac. We're going north. And from that moment is where I stepped on the path of being a Black designer and a Black creative in this industry. And I can only tell you that I have been challenged to excellence that I had never experienced or thought that I would be able to even be here to tell you of this journey. I can only tell you then that so many opportunities, and in advertising and design, I can only tell you that there was a season of reparation. And in my life, it started with going to school. All of the schools opened up, Ivy League schools opened up. There seemed to be an ally community then that wanted to make things right. There's just a window of opportunity. And we're in that same window right now, which means excellence and brilliance. Um, I say that success is when opportunity meets the prepared. You guys are far more prepared than I ever thought I could be. Okay. And I just want to encourage you to do everything you can do to excel, to keep going. And you're in a season of extreme reparation. But this is not the first time. And so I found myself in a parallel history of starting school. And some of our history, there is a great leader. You can Google her, and I'm trying to do work to document all of our stories now. Dorothy E. Hayes in 1968. I want to celebrate and shout out. You know, there were only a few magazines that covered us, and Print Magazine began the history of documenting our story. They celebrate 50 years right along with me. In 1968, 1969, they featured Dorothy E. Hayes. And she was out with an incredible PR and advertising campaign to let the New York community know that Black designers existed and that we were alive and well. And she put together a wonderful exhibit that traveled from New York and also was celebrated at Rhode Island School of Design April 1970. And she presented approximately 49 or so Black graphic designers in advertising. See, back then we had to do it all. Okay, if you were in advertising, you had to make an ad. If you were in design, you had to make a logo. And to compete, you had to do both. Even though, so while Dorothy was in New York, breaking down doors and trailblazing for us, I found myself on the campus of Rhode Island School of Design. What I didn't know is that I started September 1970. I did not know that our class that came in, 40 of us had been recruited, and they came in down, admissions came down and picked the finest of us out of urban areas, New York City. I'm from Washington, D.C. I had a friend from Long Island. And we all landed in Providence, Rhode Island as a part of the minority recruiting program at RISD, September 1970. What I didn't realize until doing some recent research, I thank God for Print Magazine. I am publishing my last in a trilogy, a 4-part series where I'm going to tell you that I'm not looking for Black graphic designers and Black creatives anymore. I have found them all. Okay. And so we have a 4-part series with Print. Like I said, they've been publishing our topic for the last 50 years. I have to shout out. But what I didn't know, and in doing this research, I discovered that RISD had student demands in March of 1970. April of 1970, they brought Dorothy's show to campus to begin to try to address some of the demands for diversity and inclusion. And in further response, they wanted to diversify the student population. And so 49 of us came on campus, and what an experience. What's social unrest without a good student protest that demands change? And so we are here, and I'm here, and our story is rich, and it's in you. I have a motto that says we can live our lives, and that's our story. When we live our lives for others, it's our legacy. And in my own life, I have found myself living my life for you. And I'm grateful that I have a legacy voice that continues to resound. I'm Googleable, I'm searchable, and thanks to Print, and they picked up and have given me a microphone for our advocacy, and for over 35 years of my 50 years journeying as a Black creative. I was a little ahead of myself in that I am completely 100% BIPOC. Okay, I'm a Black woman of many colors. This is my motley crew behind me. So I'm able to reach and share with my community in academia and schools because the youth and the population has changed. And I seem to have a voice because as a Black woman of so many colors and story and ethnicity, um, there wasn't much opportunity for me to celebrate any of this. I'm just, only thing I can tell you, I'm a Black woman and I was raised African American in DC and I can hand dance. But you can only imagine, okay, the drama behind that and trying to be a creative, and especially in New York City. See, let me share a little bit about this story. There were only a couple of lanes for us where this great article of Jim Glover, you've got to find it. It is your history note. And during all of that speaking to power, New York City in particular opened up, and my business had a very unique model. And thank God there were some Black female divas. I got a shout out to us, okay? And what was nice is that we each had a different lane. There were only a few of us, and we each had a different lane. And we didn't do Carolyn Jones. She had her lane. Jewel McCabe had her lane. Okay. Terry Williams, she had her lane. And Cheryl Miller had her own lane. Okay. And what's unique, you can research all of those. Those were my peers in advertising and design in New York City. And we each did something very unique. So we didn't have to compete against each other. And in my lane, where all of this advocacy to the Urban League and the NAACP, where it came down my street is that I'm a corporate communications designer. And now when I speak and people want my bios and stuff, everybody wants to brand. I did not have a brand, but everybody is branding me now. Okay, so I just say, do the work and it will follow you. Okay, what you're doing and who you are, it will follow you. So now, I'm like, I get this label, corporate communications that define the civil rights era. Well, who knew that's what I was doing? That's exactly what I was doing. Okay, social impact. Now you guys, put me all over the internet. Social impact, graphic design, social impact, corporate communications. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we did. And I had a very unique model between corporate work and national not-for-profit work. And New York at the time had great programs for women in business and minorities. And I got my first really, really, really big contract thanks to, see, we have to celebrate ourselves. Michelle Spellman Cobb was the very first Black art director for Sports Illustrated Time Inc. And she gave me my first job with Time Inc. And I did not know that she had put me on an affirmative action list of approved vendors for Time Inc. And they called me one day or we spoke one day, and the rest is my story. And so I had this interesting model, which I think is very pertinent. It's still relevant now. Someone savvy could take it and, do very well right now. Right now is the perfect time for my business model. So, I was called to change corporate iconography and to put people of color into annual reports, high-end corporate communication pieces, brochures, infomercials. And so with that, I became a content expert for a liaison, if you will, for introducing our visuals into corporate communications for Fortune 500. Anyone on 6th Avenue, I had such a beautiful client list. And as I could compete and deliver with those type budgets, all of those corporations had sponsors. They were corporate sponsors. And in turn, I was sent as an in-kind service to our national organizations. I want to shout out one of our most popular clients. I want to shout out to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Um, this is one of our oh my God. I don't know what to tell you about this poster other than it's revered. It's collected in 3 places with my corporate posters. I was influenced by Aaron Douglas. I stopped everything in the shop and did the poster myself. I'm happy to say that it's collected at the Design Museum in The Hague, the Poster House Museum in New York City, and I have all of my work is in my studio, my business archives are all at the Cheryl Miller Collection, Stanford University, for 5 schools of research. Can you believe this? Okay. And so all of our Fortune 500 companies had incredible national African American organizations that they sponsored. So I was the lady doing annual reports and books and corporate communications. So on many, many occasions, I got an opportunity to work with our national organizations, which is just really a blessing. The people that I have photographed, and I've journeyed their offices. I've learned their missions. That the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the United Negro College Fund, one of my favorite, and this is one of my favorite clients that was IBM sponsored, the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. What's fascinating and why my work is it's historical, and that's why it's been collected. That's why we have a collection now at Stanford University, is that many of my clients, we documented history. For an example, this is the history of the Joint Center 1970 to 1990. And just as an example, I'm telling, is that beautiful? I'm telling the civil rights era story as this organization is doing our social impact work. And so I had this model, and I think that the template is still viable for you to do. So what I really want to inspire you to do is to be a success, which means opportunity meets the prepared. You're prepared. And it is a season to compete and to be unapologetic and to stand for your creativity, which is really, really revered, sought after. My upcoming article is going to, I think, surprise you. It's truthful. You're going to know what I'm saying is the truth, but I think maybe I'm one of the craziest to be bold enough to write it. Okay, I'll do the great reveal on it. Well, I can't be in marketing and advertising if I don't give out a shout out for a reveal for the next print article. Okay, which I will say it's Blacks Forward in Action. You can Google me, Wikipedia. You can read all of my trade articles on our topic, but I would say my scholarship is one of the first pieces that opened the door for all of our advocacy. And, one club I've got to celebrate, because back in the day, it was, copywriters and art directors club. There were only 2 or 3 magazines where you could be celebrated. And I find that one club has moved forward with our community. Listen, I want to thank you, and I want to shout out, listen, be all you can be. Be all you can be. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and sure is creativity. But you've got to stand up, and you've got to market and brand and sell every day. My husband is, I came into New York with his business and with his corporation. He's the MBA type, and he used to wake up every morning and tell me, Cheryl, sell Cheryl Miller Design, sell, sell, sell. And by dinner time, he'd say, well, did you make a call? Did you sell? Did you tell somebody? And see, the key to this is to assess a need, look around and assess a need, and be bold enough to go say that you're the solution. I see so many, I collect them, corporate faux pas. This is a great time. Every time you see that they mix us up one for another, they can't remember our names. They do products and brand them that, they roll out on Friday and Black Twitter takes them down on Saturday. That's your opportunity. You walk right in and said, "Did you see what Black Twitter did to you?" And then after that, you say, "I'm the solution." So you learn to write your proposals and to be assertive. You don't have to be aggressive, just be assertive, because you are the answer. You are the answer. You are the solution. Okay, so I need you to rise up and take your place. And like my article says, we are found forward in action. So listen, I celebrate you. One club, one tribe, much love. This is Cheryl D. Holmes Miller. Just listen, I'll come by and see you. I'm zooming all over the place. I'm doing everything that I can do to be with everyone. And I can only tell you, write, um, live your life for others, and Zoom while you can. Okay? God bless, God keep you. And listen, continue this celebration, and I will see you out here in creative cyberspace.